Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. This is Justice for All, and where we go over crimes and the law, and not only just police officers, but the courts and um, people that commit the crimes, even to the victims. All right, so how's Karen doing? Boy, wild weekend for the news, and we got William coming up in the next hour. So um, I want to get jump right into it because I got a lot of good stuff. Now the pool die. Now I never, this is a prank. This is a prank that could be considered illegal, and it was a New Jersey business owner arrested for using pool uh, I'm sorry, using drones to drop green dye into nearby pools, and he's been arrested for that. And it was both residential and commercial. The thing was, this was staining the pools. According to the police, he's 45 years old and he was charged with multiple counts of criminal mischief in connection with several of the annoying and costing incidents, according to police. They were first made aware of the incidents back in the second week of August when a homeowner noticed a drone hovering over their yard. And to the homeowner's dismay, a substance that was dropped from a drone which turned the pool water an alarming shade of bright green. And that's from the press release written by the police department. And so somebody saw it, and it happened to be this guy didn't go out with, uh, didn't basically get away with what he was doing. Now, the drone that turned the pool water an alarming shade of green, that's, like I said, from a press release. And the drones wouldn't have been seen if somebody's standing there going, "Oh, a drone. Oh, it dropped something. Oh, my pool's green." So obviously, they knew that this drone had just done this to them. The police, at several other instances after this was reported, seemed to see a trend of not only residential but commercial and nearby pools, one involving uh, equality and equality. That's particular instance causing damage that the pool's concrete base. So what they mean here under the legal term is it was turning the cement. Like if you had a built-in swimming pool, it would turn the walls green. The same way with these commercials. We're talking hotels that would have a built-in swimming pool, and if it's outside, then of course the it was stained green, which gave the water a weird-looking color. The general manager of the Quality Inn, until the New York Times, said that she alerted the police of the hotel's pool water was dyed green back in June. Same thing happened a few times a month until ramping up the frequency of the cameras over the pool and above to find out why the pool was turning this weird shade of green. And so she says it happened several times, like the pool was being attacked on a regular basis. So when that happened, they had to drain the clean, refill the pool because they didn't know what the stuff was. They didn't know if this drone was dropping something that would harm their guests. And it was costing them tens and thousands of dollars, counting the revenue lost from the customers who canceled their stay because they had no pool. Authorities were ultimately able to identify a suspect after spotting the drone over Quality Inn in September 1st, sounding like um, they followed it back to the location in the nearby business where the owner of that business was arrested. Now, why was he doing this? Now, I'm thinking he was 40 years old. I'm thinking maybe he had a pool business. where you clean the pools or clean stained cement, but that wasn't the case. He has a business in Havoc, HAVAC business, heating and cooling. So that wasn't the reason. So it had to been just a prank. A 40-year-old doing a college student prank is what the police department was starting to think. And the substance dropped from the drone, he said, was sea dye. That is SEADI, a product that intended to mark areas of the ocean to alert pilots or rescue operators of a specific location. So this could be something so potent it could hurt people. And so you're having to you're wondering, how do you get a hold of this stuff? And so, like I said, this alert pilots or rescue operators to certain locations out in the middle of the ocean. And so, if a helicopter is flying someplace nearby, you throw the stuff in to mark the spot, or if someone's going by, they want to mark the spot because they see you down there. Now, the use of such material in this context is not only illicit, but it also causes damage to affected pools. So they consider this to be a prank. Well, pranks, if it causes a costly damage or hurts somebody, they can be charged. Well, there's no intent in the law that doesn't mean whether you're trying to be funny or you intent of or your contempt of the law. And it simply is you did intend to do, and it was against the law, and boom, well, there you go. But it was funny, was it? That's not an excuse. You cannot argue to a court, yeah, or even a jury. You go, or the judge. You go and say, "Well, I thought it was funny, so I did it." And I had a camera on the drone, so I could sit and laugh at the reactions of the people that own these pools. And this isn't the first. We see college students doing pranks all the time, and the same thing happens, but we never hear about it in the news. Where they do a prank that hurts somebody, hurts a business, or there's damage so severe that they have to be charged. Like, I get this. There was a college here last year that put cement in the toilets. Ha ha ha, funny. Well, it clogged up the system and it caused thousands of dollars worth of damage. And and the other one is pulling the fire alarm. Now, I'm going to do something on the news later about this. Pulling the fire alarm is illegal because uh, it is costly to the fire department. So now what they're doing is they can get a drone to a fire or an emergency happening to a building within way lower times than a fire truck can get there. So they're sending the drones out there and they're finding fake alarms. Now it has saved money, but in the long run, sometimes it hasn't, where the whole fire department show up to look just in case. They want to make sure there's really no fire. So they show up, and then get this. Um, Not only are they the taxpayers being charged with the drone on a fake on something fake, then they charge you for the police department, the fire department, the rescue squads, ambulances, everything that shows up at these fake fire alarms. So it's very costly. And so this is why they're now starting to look at these drones. Now, I in the funny post this week, I did put in there that Amazon has um, got their packages and it's skeet shooting. Well, that's how I felt and when I found it, how odd, I found this article, then I found the thing with Amazon and shooting them down. There's so much with these drones that we still need to work out, and it's not just because of the drone. We're going to move into driverless cars. Now, this story was all over the news over the weekend, and people messing with those EV cars on the West Coast armed with traffic cones. Now, folks, this is crazy. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. um, so this has to do with traffic cones, and it's something that maybe it was found by accident with the college students up around. Well, they say San Francisco has discovered it, but they learned it from Seattle. Seattle learned it from Portland. So what it is these EV cars. If you put a cone, the traffic cones, orange and white, or yellow and white, or orange and whatever colors they decide for your state. If you put them on the hood of an EV car, it'll stop. The flashers will go off, and it cannot move until the cone is removed. And this is something new that they have been doing. Why? Because if a dog or a kid or something jumps out in front of it, then it'll stop, the flashers will go off, and the car won't move until the driver gets in and makes the proper arrangements for this car. So apparently, when this started happening all over the country, they said, well, there's got to be something going on. So they did find that um, there is a group um, that is doing this. And and get this, once and they set the cones, they riding off on bikes. So it tells you what you've seen in the videos with Portland and Seattle of kids. They'll ride through the camera and then they'll ride back really quick. They say, are these ones that are putting the cones on these EV cars? And they say it's a weird type of activist group called Safe Street Rebel Response for the so-called coning incidents and dozens of others over the past few months. The group's goal is to incapacitate the driverless cars roaming in not only in San Francisco, but inner cities, sanctuary cities across the United States. It's considered a protest against the city for being used as a testing ground for emerging technology. At least that's what they say. Is this because they got caught and foundations and uh, political officials are paying for these groups to go out and create havoc on the streets? The past couple of years, driverless cars have been um, throughout San Francisco, and it began with human safety drivers who were on board, who were there to make sure everything ran okay. Many cars started with operating with no people at all, and mostly run by Cruise, which is owned by GM, and Waymo, which is Waymo, and these are owned by Google, a parent company, Alphabet. Both companies have poured billions of dollars into developing these EV cars. Neither Cruise nor Waymo responded to the questions about these cars being disabled by traffic cones. And of course, they did start working on something that could stop this or tell whether what it is, and maybe to be able to drive around it. The human drivers, Now, I'm going to say we get confused when there's something that jumps out in front of us in the same way with these EV drivers. So they don't know, so it automatically stops. But what if it's a person or a cat or another car that they have to brake for? So they shut down. So then they have to send somebody out to um, find out if it's a mechanical issue or if it's just this cone. And they're saying that it's really starting to confuse the police officers in these inner cities. Now, um, now there has been a long protest impact on the tech industry in San Francisco and these cities. Throughout the years, activists have blocked Google's private commuter buses from picking up employees in the city. When the shooter companies are flooded the sidewalks with electric scooters, they found out maybe they can get the electric cars onto the freeways and they would cut back on the emissions. Now, I'm just asking, I've um, when I look at Detroit, um, there were these scooters everywhere. And this is where the highest amount of cars that were starting to be coned. So a, a Google bus is another one, or taxis that they do in the middle of the night. So they're starting to cone these. And of course, they can't move. And then it gives the taxis a chance to jump in and grab the business. Um, there has been various in, interactions of this where um, these cities are putting very little input out there in the news to say this is happening. The Safe Street Rebels protest, the group agreed. They wanted to be considered anonymous, not the face anonymous, but they didn't really want to speak to any reporters due to the fact their voice might be exposed on who they are. The Safe Street Rebel has cataloged hundreds of near misses and mistakes with Cruise and Waymo vehicles over the past few months, not counting the traffic cones. Cars running red lights, rear ending, bus blocking, crosswalks, and paths of bike paths. In one instant, dozens of confused cars congregated in a residential cul-de-sac, clogging the streets in other and and another. A Waymo ran over and killed a dog. Don't get me wrong, I love dogs, but the question, chorus, is did the dog run out into the street? Were the kids abused and the dog was just warning? Or all of the above? The real point here is these people are a small group of them disabling these cars by throwing traffic cones on them. And somebody's bound to ask uh, Steve, um, they're not damaging anything that can't be against the law. Yeah. And we have to be against the law because this is what's going on over in Israel. Of course, they're firing on Iran, but then they have Palestinian Hezbollah and Hamas that are firing into um, not only Syria but Ukraine. And the more you talk anti-government, the more you're going to be looked at. and fished on what you're saying and what's being reported all the way to the top, Joe Biden and his administration. Um, Now, Fort Collins, this was very interesting. I think I even ran this by William for a show, but I went ahead and grabbed it. Fort Collins is a town involved in the story with Timothy Masters, the man who was um, convinced of a murder he did not commit. He spent 17 years in prison and then got out. Why aren't they releasing the numbers of what got out? If they got the numbers for, um, um, if they got the numbers, I'm sorry, I lost my place here, my stuff. Um, the numbers are up there. Now, get this: the EV cars, 90% of them are they're finding issues with, like um, making a right turn, the battery blowing up, but not enough miles for the next refuel. So not only now they're looking into them because now they're being used in when are they going to drop something that isn't just green dye that could hurt the American people? All right, pepper spray, folks, and this is, I seen the cops the other day. I was watching a movie, and afterwards, cops showed up, and they were showing this guy being pepper sprayed on the ground. He couldn't move, and because he was resisting, they shot him with pepper spray. But to me, it was a little too close. It just seemed like it was way too close. And um, Timothy Masters, the man who convicted of a murder he did not commit, he said, spent 10 years um, in a prison and then got out and eventually got not only proved of his innocence, but they got apologies from various people. And the power, and it was deliberate um, that this was going on. Now, even though they did apologies, you got to look at there was two that they were basically earthquakes that started up. All right, so I don't want to get too far off into this. So when they went to court, um, Collins, a police pepper sprayed the one that sprayed the man face from 2 inches, two away from boy, 2 inches away from his face, while the cop was attempting to ticket this man. And they alleged that they violated his constitutional rights. So let's suppose the police walk up to you and say you're not in the vehicle, and they think just because you can walk up on them that you're going to be safe. No, 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 no. Get this. How many times have I read Friday night show where the police officers show up and they're glad to see them for reinforcement, and then when they see the badge, oh no, they're not going to talk. They're not going to work with them, and they're still waiting to get their kids back. All right, I'm going to keep going here. Um, so a man this week at Fort Collins, two of its police officers allegedly they used excessive force with pepper spray and attempting to issue the summons for reportedly trespassing. I get that this guy. Um, um, I know I've talked about it where he has went and got um, a restraining order, and when they went to serve it, this gentleman refused to take it, and he mentioned, well, you might want to check it out, because you got a thumb fist. Oh, he's got anxiety, right? So, um, oh boy. Um, okay. So, this guy with anxiety. And so they pull him out and they say, hey, you're just a little bit too upset. You're a little too upset. You need to calm down. And um, and the thing about this guy had already spent 10 years in prison. Okay, so the cop probably ran his name, found out this, seen he was out, and um, so he because he was acting with anxiety, the cop wrote him a ticket. Now, there's no law for anxiety or acting suspicious. And so he wrote him a ticket and he went to give it to him, and the guy refused to take it. Now, can you legally, if a cop hands you your ticket, do you really have to take it? No, no, no. But what the cop should have said when he wasn't going to take it, he should have said, there's an important date on this, and this is when you need to appear for court. No, most cops won't say that, folks. Most police officers isn't going to give you that info. They're going to try to give you that ticket. They're going to tell you to roll down the window. And once you show resistance, the more chance you're going to be arrested with interference on an investigation. Okay, so this guy goes to court or doesn't go to court. He misses court date. So then they have a warrant. So they go and find him. And when he is being uh, um, he doesn't want to get out of the car. He doesn't want to work with the police officers. They grab him up, they throw him to the ground, and since he was fighting them, they sprayed the pepper spray 2 inches away from this guy's face. Well, his sight was impaired for a couple months, and he ended up being blind. And not blind, but his eyesight was impaired after many, many years. So he was able. So they looked into it and they found out the cop was wrong. So the cop was charged, and also this guy does have a legal right to go after this police officer in a civil suit. So he lost his job, but here's the thing: cops should not. If you watch cops, folks, if they're spraying pepper spray, uh, 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches away from somebody's face, this could blind them. This is chemicals. And the police department and a police officer could be sued for this. It states 6 foot, 6 to 8 feet away. So they could have subdued him far away, put him to the ground and cuffed him because he couldn't see, and or his eyes burned. Not get him on the ground and then spray him. The other one is the giving of the ticket. I hope you guys learn from this that if they give you the ticket, oh boy, I'm already into this. um, and you don't necessarily have to take it, but you should because it gives pertinent information for your court. Um, oh boy, I want to get through this. Boy, William, I might be going another 30 minutes on this. Um, Trying to make sure I get all this stuff. So the last one I want to do is um, this is creepy and true stuff, and it shouldn't take but another couple minutes. Um, Now, some of the oddest coincidences happen in history with scientific discoveries. One particular strange story. So this is weird but true that I do every week. And I found some true stories that is really weird. And one is a gentleman that oh boy, I want to make sure I get this right. Um, had to do with the Titanic. Now, in particular, there was a strange coincidence around a man named W.T. Steed, a newspaper editor, that it, basically he was looking at these steamships, these big, huge steamships. And what he wrote about was the identical story that matched up the Titanic. But this was written years before, way before the Titanic sunk. What's weird is when the Titanic went down, he was on it, even though he warned that because of the steam and not enough lifeboats, that there's a good possibility that one of these steamboats could sink. And then there was another one, the same, almost same story. Um, that I think it's Morgan Robertson. He wrote about an ocean liner like the Titanic that sank and crashed into another ship. They said, but it was called the Titan. Huh? It's close, but it wasn't an iceberg. It was another ship. And because they didn't have enough lifeboats on either ship, many perished. Huh. And so they said, because of um, what he wrote, they called him like this prophetic soothsayer that was seeing things that happened in the future. So this guy here also foreseen the Titanic and wrote about it. And both said it was a lack of lifeboats. The first one kind of was creepy to me because he was on the boat when it sank. Huh. All right, so now you guys remember Yamaguchi, a Japanese marine engineer. Now, he was a resident of Nagasaki in 45, and he watched the first explosion. And because he was a very important scientist at that time, he ran to give the information um, um, to the second island. And lo and behold, when he was giving the information to the people of Japan and the military and the government, the second one went off. So he is the first one in history to be double hit by a nuclear weapon because of he being on the first island, going to the second island and being hit again. And get this, they everybody around him that was just hit in the first bombing basically died of cancer. He did get cancer, and he went on to live and was getting treatments for it. And then he got more cancer and had to live through it. He lived till I think he was about 90 years old, where he died of stomach cancer. So he went from in his 30s all the way to 90, 30, 40 years old, lived till he was 90, and being hit with a double nuclear bombs. Now, get this, when it first happened, and Japan really wanted to say, look at this man that was willing to go through one, run to the next city and pre-warn them and say, beware that this we could be getting bombed again. They wanted the people of Japan really wanted to give him recognition for this. Well, they didn't right off. And then about 20 years later, they tried it again. It wasn't until I believe 2010 where he finally got the recognition. And it was only a few years before he died. I could be wrong on the dates, folks. But it just goes to show you that everybody wanted to hide him, maybe. But how creepy is it that he went through two? How is that a creepy coincidence? That he was with one and ran to the other and didn't, with no danger. He didn't feel like anything else was going to happen, but to be on the safe side. Usually, when there's one drop, there's two. All right. All right. So that is it for the show, and I hope you really enjoyed the Justice for All. We've seen a little bit of everything today. I thought, did I? I'm trying to think if I got everything. Um, I hope I did. If not, I'll make sure I get it next week. It's just, boy, that one story I kind of run out of time with, the pepper spray and uh, the other thing with the EV cars, with the cones, and then of course the creepy but true. So come on back next week for more of these stories, and of course I'm going to keep doing creepy but true as we or I don't think it's creepy but true. I think it's weird but true is what I've been calling this. But this is kind of weird coincidences. And I'm going to get kind of creepy throughout the month of October because, of course, it's Halloween month. All right. So, with that, folks, subscribe and hit the like button and share and let everyone know about Investigator News too. And send them the link and hit that like and the thumbs up. So, with that, we will see you next Monday for the show. If not, come on back tomorrow. And we have William coming up next show. And I think me and William are going to tag team this. And I'm going to let him, for the most part, do it, the show. I think I just might join in or chime in a little bit. So, have a wonderful Monday and we will see you the next show or tomorrow. And if all you like is Justice for All, we'll see you next week.